How's it guys? What's going on? My name is Prashant. Welcome back to techsceneza. Today we're going to be discussing what are some of the important things that we should look at when purchasing a laptop. So as someone who works in the IT field and around technology, a lot of the time we get approached by people who are not so tech savvy and not so involved in IT to ask us, what should we look out for when we're buying a laptop? Or people actually come to us with this is my budget, tell me what I can buy. So today I would like to highlight what are some of the things we need to look out for when buying a laptop or a PC. So if this is your first time here, you better make sure you're subscribed because you're missing out on all the awesome content that we put out. So off the top of my head, there are three important things that we look out for as people involved in IT as to what we look at when purchasing a laptop. So we're not going to be discussing things like graphics, screen size, backlit keyboards. That's all for you to decide, right? Whether you're going to be using it for gaming or just for checking your mail, that's all for you to decide, and for you to decide if you need the high-end graphics or if you need that big screen with the backlit keyboard to be working on the night. We are looking at three important things, first of which is your CPU. The first of which is our processor. So the processor is the biggest thing that actually helps your machine compute and perform tasks. So that's why it's the first thing that we need to talk about. And when we look at a processor, a lot of the time people think, no, i5, i7, it's a very fast machine. As people in IT, that's not what we look at. You can have an i7 that is actually slower than a CPU that's an i5. What we look at is the clock speed. So basically the clock speed tells us how many computes it can perform per second, and that is delivered in a gigahertz number. So if we look at my desktop PC's CPU, it's a Core i5 2400 processor, but its clock speed is actually 3.1 gigahertz per second, which is substantial compared to some of the i7s I've seen recently, which are actually running at 1.2 and 1.4 gigahertz per second. But I'm not saying that the i5 and i7 thing doesn't make a difference. It does, because they are generationally different and they are built differently for different use cases. But it's not solely based on the class of the processor like i5 or i7. There are a lot more things to think about. And with more things to think about, you also have to think about the amount of cores. But I'm not going to talk too much about that. We need to look at the clock speed, which basically tells us how much of computing it can do per second. So the second thing that we're moving on to is the disk. So with the disk, we have three sorts of disks that we can have in our PC. We have a hard disk drive, which is a spinning disk, a solid state drive, which is an electrical disk, and an M.2 SSD, which is still a solid state drive, but it's more of an advanced technology basically, and it doesn't connect with your normal SATA. It connects directly to the motherboard, and basically it has a bus channel, which I'm not going to explain too much about to you guys. But basically it has a direct link to the CPU to compute even faster than a normal SSD. So with the drive, the number one thing to remember is that storage size doesn't matter. So I can have a 1 terabyte hard drive in my laptop, and I could also have a 256 M.2 SSD in another laptop. it doesn't mean my 1 terabyte is going to be faster than my 256 or even the 128. Basically, the 1 terabyte is actually going to be dead slow compared to that M.2. And that's what we need to keep out for. Depending on your use case, if you're going to be using your laptop for checking your mail and just for a little bit of playing around, a hard disk drive is fine, it's cheaper. But if we are aiming for performance, mid-tier performance, go SSD. It's budget friendly as well as you get the speed. But if you are aiming for top-end performance, go for an M.2 SSD, and that will clock you out. I think it's 6 gigabits per second, some of them transfer speeds. So that's what you need to go for. And this brings us to the third thing that we talk about when purchasing a PC, which is our RAM. So unfortunately, with RAM, it's a little different. You can't have different speeds to make your PC operate faster. Basically, it depends on the board as such. So the board dictates what sort of speed RAM, DDR2, DDR3, you can attach to your machine. But that doesn't mean you can't expand your RAM size, which helps your machine perform faster. Windows 10 and Windows 11 says 4 gigs of RAM is your bare minimum for Windows to operate. So that would be your person checking their mail as such. If you are someone in the mid-tier looking for a little bit more performance out of your machine and not just checking mail, I'd say go between 4 and 8 gigs of RAM. And if you are your high-end user who's computing a lot, doing a lot of processor heavy tasks, I'd say go between 16 and 32 gigs of RAM. And as I'm saying, your board dictates your RAM, so you can't really go for faster RAM, but you can go for more storage. And on that note, those are the 3 things that we look out for when purchasing a PC or a laptop. All your other things, screen size, touch screen, trackpad, all those things are up to you as a user, but these are the 3 big things that you need to look out for when purchasing a PC. And what I'm going to do for you right now is, I'm not going to discuss it. I'm going to put up a table breaking it into minimum, mid-tier user and high performance user, and you're going to see suggestions for disk, for memory, and for your storage. And that will help you decide as to where you need to be when purchasing your PC, and you can cross-reference it and say, hey, okay, I'm looking for a mid-tier, maybe I should go with something like this rather than going with something like that. And on that note, these are actually the 3 things that we upgrade when trying to improve the performance of our PC. So that is why these are the things that we look for when initially purchasing it, because it also allows us to know if we have room to improve later and make our PC somehow faster later on if we need to. I know with Black Friday around the corner as well as Christmas around the corner, a lot of people are looking to buy laptops. Even with the end of school in South Africa nearby, people are looking to buy their kids laptops, even buy yourself a laptop. You can let me know if you think there are some other things that we should look at when purchasing a PC in the comments below, or if you think I've missed anything out. But yeah guys, I hope this really helped you. My name is Prashant. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.